Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. I'm very well indeed. So the setup again for this week is that you are, I'm on my iPhone via Facebook Live. What devices are you working on here?
Okay, so very similar to last time, recording something from our mobile phone, another one from my slightly more fancier
Your
camera.
posh, yeah.
And our previous talk actually will be going up on YouTube tomorrow.
Ah, marvellous. Where do people need to go to head for that?
They'll find it on my YouTube channel, which is Joshua Roode.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'll do is I will tag you in a social media post with the link.
Hello. Yeah, I like that. Good. Okay, excellent. So just a reminder then, if you would like to watch the next 20 or so minutes here on Late Nights, and you can do so just by going to Facebook, go to my page, Sara-Jayne King, and you'll be watching us live, and you can interact with us, you can comment. We would love that. So many of you have been messaging, not just live last week, but through the week. People watched, as you said, most people watch after the event, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. I think people like to choose when they want to watch stuff. So it's cool to get the early adopters who hop on and watch and everything like that. And then again, people go, oh, I really like that. Let me go take a look. And they end up watching it later in the week.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so we're talking about social media, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And of course, social media it's essentially changed our lives, hasn't it, forever. Do you think that it's changed it entirely for the good, or are there grey areas?
Well, that depends which side of the fence you're sitting on.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, as you heard just earlier on with someone like Donald Trump, whether that's good or bad, I don't know. He still won an election through social media just as Barack Obama did before. So from their perspective, it's very good. But maybe from the people on the receiving end with someone like Donald Trump, maybe it's not so good. So I think what it has done is it's created a two-way communication that never existed before. And that I think is good. How people use it, on the other hand, can be sometimes very, very detrimental to businesses and to personal brands.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about things like rating companies. Now, for a lot of companies, now that most companies are on social media, or even if the companies themselves aren't on social media, we all are. So if I say to you, Joshua, I went to this restaurant in Hout Bay at the weekend and it was absolutely shocking, I can say that to you in a private conversation, or I can jump onto Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else, and I can destroy a business in one night.
Well,
kinda.
I think what destroys it is when the business doesn't respond.
Okay.
Because everybody wants to be heard.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing about social media that is good for business, is it's going to tell you your positives and your negatives. The question is how you respond, not react or be proactive, how you respond. Because human at its mature level is to respond on an adult-to-adult conversation. Self-aware, okay, what's triggering this whole situation? Let's figure it out and be, decent to one another. Being reactive means it's cause and effect. And it's the same with trying to be proactive. It's still cause and effect. So, yes, you can hurt a business, but the response from that business can make the world of difference. Just a prime example was a situation in Hout Bay with a particular brand last year when one of the people was washing down stuff with a hose, height of water restrictions, which we're still under. And they took to one of the biggest water groups on Facebook and started slating this business. Now, just to show you how imperative it is to communicate back to the hype in a way that's well thought out, you think before you speak, and ability to communicate in a meaningful way. The CEO of the group responded with probably one of the best social media responses I've seen to a potentially very, very bad thing, because people were calling for the boycott of the brand, everything like that. And his response was so well thought out and very well worded that people started commenting, you've got a supporter for life. What a brilliant man. What a leader. All these type of things. Now, unfortunately, not every business has that type of response. People tend to go on the defense. But feedback is feedback. And you need to be able to process that feedback, good or bad, and learn how to learn from it.
Do you think that when it comes to businesses responding in a social media sphere, that it's different to, let's say you've got a couple who run a B&B somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and they've done it for years and years and years and years. Back in the day, if somebody had a complaint to make, they might go to the front desk and say, well, this has been a problem, or da-da-da. But if you've got some people who may not necessarily be savvy in terms of social media, is there a different way to respond on social media, and also I'm thinking of damage limitation, etc., then there might be that they would have dealt with back in the day, which is to maybe say, oh, I'm so sorry you had a horrible stay and here's a complimentary night. Whereas the reason that I say that is because I use a lot of Airbnbs, and if I go away, and I'm obsessed with TripAdvisor. One of the things that I've noticed on TripAdvisor is that often people will leave their comments, and sometimes there will be fantastic reviews and sometimes they won't be. What I find interesting is how the owner of that premises or that business responds. Sometimes they will only address the negative and be very, very defensive. They won't thank the people that have left a good review, or they'll do the opposite, which is to only thank the people that have left a good review and not respond to the slightly more negative reviews.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a risky game to play, because it's kind of only acknowledging when things are going well. And, one of the biggest things, you either learn or you win. And the ability to learn is saying I'm approachable and open to feedback. The difference is, I think there are still people that will complain directly.
Okay.
It's when they don't get heard that they'll take to social media. We also have a short string there and shortcut where people just go straight to social media, who really have ill intent, often responding out of the pressures of another situation. And they're like, I'm going to dump all of my issues onto this brand. But that's still not a valid reason not to respond. If people feel heard, they will feel appreciated, and it can tone the whole thing down. And sometimes, businesses get it wrong. They need to acknowledge their mistakes. They're not the be all and end all. They're not perfect. You can't hit a home run every day. The whole key of business is learning how to recover from mistakes, because we need to make mistakes in order to learn. And the way we communicate that learning process and how we conduct ourselves on social media is just as important as when someone complains face to face and says, hey, I'm really upset with the service, or the food was undercooked, or it came to the table cold, or the bedding wasn't clean when I arrived at this hotel. Whatever it may be, it has to be heard and it has to be dealt with. So the human to human interaction still exists. It's just got to be learned in this new era.
If you are just joining us this evening, this Thursday evening, with the time at, where are we, 14 minutes to midnight, Joshua Roode is in studio with us, and we are doing another social media chat, which you can not only listen to, but you can also watch, because we are live on Facebook. And if you would like to join us on Facebook, you can do so just by going to my Facebook account, Sara-Jayne King, and a number of people watching. Who have we got? We've got Linda Cook. Hello, Linda. Hope you're well. Alex is watching. Ernest Harris from Simonstown says hello. Ernest. I'm putting my big fat hand in front of the camera. That's unfortunate. If you would like to come in and join the conversation, maybe send us a wave on Facebook, then do so. It's lovely to see you all of those of you who are tuned in. Who's that? That's Charlie. Hello, Charlie. Good to see you tuned in too. If you are just listening on your communal garden radio, that's good too. Or perhaps you're listening via the app, the Cape Talk app, which means that you can listen anywhere. Crystal clear audio, I'm told, on the Cape Talk app. We're talking the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to social media, and how the impact of what we put on social media, or how we interact online, can have positive effects, obviously, but also negative. What is for you in your experience? The good is, I guess, the communicating, the ability, the immediacy of that, and the bad, again, that perhaps people aren't quite sure still, maybe how to communicate online.
Yeah, definitely. another good example for the good side is when people are raising money for causes or trying to tell somebody's story, and how people have come to help complete strangers through the power of social media. So that's also one of the good sides. But the bad is when there was a particular brand that I had a bad experience with. I tried to speak to someone in store. They brushed me off. And so then I sent a very nice tweet saying, "Dear brand, please can I have someone in management contact me? I will send you a DM with my contact details." So I didn't go out and slate them or anything like that. I don't think that is good for me as a person. It's very bad energy to become toxic in that. This is a national brand. Their account, I think the last post they had was quite some time ago. They did not respond. So that's for me when it starts to become bad.
Yeah.
Because you have a point of communication, but it's not getting monitored and it's not getting utilized. So the very least is to say, hey, I acknowledge that there was something wrong, and can you drop us an email? It's a little bit of a brush off, but at least respond at the very least, if you can. So that's when social media starts becoming bad for brands, because you're getting communication one way and nobody's giving communication back. But there's some amazing brands in South Africa who do it really, really well, and they do it right.
Which ones?
Are we allowed to go that far?
Yeah, of course we are. I think so. I think credit where credit's due.
Yeah. Okay. Well, obviously the situation that I was talking about in the beginning was the CEO of Snookies, the very famous fish shop, fish and chip shop, all over the Cape Town region. I think brands that have done well, it's probably someone like Yappy Chef. They've been very tech savvy. Woolies at times. They haven't got it right all the time, but they have done a very good job at being involved in their social game. Some of the smaller brands I can think of, maybe straight off the top of my head. At the moment, everything's going very, very well for them, but I'm just looking at a startup called Freya's Superfoods. She's very, very on the ball with communicating with her audience, very much via Instagram. And I think these smaller businesses see the value far more than the bigger businesses, because this is a direct relationship building time, which creates loyal followers. Because I always say that thing: if they like you, they'll listen, but if they believe you, they'll follow. So if you spend that time in the what I term as good social media practice, in responding to all of the messages as best as you can, eventually you'll have to appoint someone to help you manage it. Your chances of success are going to be far higher to gain long-term customers than if you do the bad side and the customers are communicating but you're not responding. Because it's no different to having an automatic helpline. I don't see the value in having an automatic helpline. If you want to...
It's the most frustrating thing on the known planet.
Because if I say you're important to me, I would put a human to answer the phone. Please. Certain companies out there. So, and it's the same thing with social media. Yeah, absolutely. You can't automate that. You need human-to-human engagement. Something that I've noticed in the last few years, in particular in the job market around in media, is the number of social media manager positions, and I used to think that's not a thing. But I really did. There just seemed to suddenly be a every time you'd open a paper or click on a job site, a social media manager, and you think, God, there's literally that money for old rope. But the more I think now, it's shocking to me when people don't have social media managers, particularly larger firms, because some of the responses that you might see from a firm's social media pages, you think that is so ill thought out. You haven't managed to do the transferring from old school to new. You haven't quite hit that market, that point yet of being able to communicate on social media, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot of inherited behavior from the old school process. And they go and they appoint a fancy title and they put someone there who speaks the way they want, fills in all the things that they want, purely just to fulfill the role. And the market will correct them, guaranteed. The market's always going to tell you what it wants, how it wants it, and give you that feedback. and hopefully they evolve and learn in that process and start to become more effective in the social media space. That's better than nothing at all. And then there are those that get it and understand it and work it and become extremely valuable to brands, but they have a tendency to be poached by bigger brands and things like that, because good social media managers are hard to find. There's a lot of people that have the title and literally just plan posts and things like that, but it's still coming out of an old agency mindset. And that's not to take a dig at the agencies. There needs to be an adaptation where it starts to become a little bit more thought out of, would I communicate like this to someone that I just met in the street? No. So why am I doing it on social media? That still blows my mind.
Yeah.
It really does blow my mind.
The time is 7 minutes to midnight already. We're joined in studio, which is my favourite way to have Joshua Roode communicating with us. He is live in studio with us, and we are live on Facebook. And in the next last 7 minutes of the hour, we'd love to hear from you. Perhaps you've had a fantastic social media experience with a company. Share it. Tell us who they are. What did they do? What did you enjoy particularly about that interaction? Is there? I'd love to hear, particularly if there's a local firm that you think are doing really, really well when it comes to social media and communicating. And as Joshua was saying, so often it's these smaller firms that are relying on social media rather than the bigger corporates. So if you, or perhaps even if you have your own business, and you can talk to us about how you've used social media to grow your business, some of the things that you've learned. Maybe it's been a learning curve for you. Social media has certainly been a learning curve for me, and I'm not really in a business, as it were. So certainly I'd love to hear from you. You can get in touch on where are we? There's so many things happening, Joshua. I don't know where we are. You can get in touch via the Facebook Live that we're doing currently by going to my Facebook page, Sara-Jayne King, and just watching there. Linda Cook saying, love the red nails. Thank you very much, Linda Cook. You can get in touch via Twitter, where we are at Cape Talk and at This Is SJ King, and Joshua.
At Joshua Roode.
At Joshua Roode. You can give us a call on 021 446 0567. You can send us an SMS to 31567. Or you can send us a WhatsApp to 072 567 1567. If we were doing this 25 years ago, when of course neither you or I would have been born, of course. There would just be the one method. It would just be the old school telephone, or maybe not even that. Maybe you would have had to write into the show and we'd pick it up again next week.
Fax.
A fax. Send us in a facsimile, please. Oh, remember that. I know somebody that still uses a fax machine.
So do I.
It's got to be the same person. There can't be two of them. And who are they faxing?
Government departments.
Government departments.
Yes. Very frustrating.
That is extraordinary in this day and age that people are still using fax machines. Oh my goodness. So if you would like to join the conversation, then those are the methods via which you can get in touch with us this evening. We're talking the good, the bad and the ugly when it comes to social media, of course. And I guess, we all use social media for different reasons, I guess, and we all use it to different levels. My mum has just hopped on Facebook Live. That's something that happened for the first time, I think, last week. Well done. She's developed on that front. It's good to have you, Mum. Well done. If you're looking at how best, and we've spoken about utilising social media for the good of your brand or your business, but if you're looking at ways in which you can better communicate with potential clients or clients that you've already got, in terms of getting people's attention, that's often what draws me to a brand, is their social media policy and their social media strategy, clever social media strategies. Are there any in particular that have stood out for you, or that you've been involved in terms of broadening the reach of a firm? Or
yeah, I mean, we've grown some brands by 2,500 followers in as little as 2 to 4 weeks. I think that's really just about also just good social media practice, doing some of the basics like inviting people to that brand's page, people that have already interacted with you, getting a call to action in there. So those type of things you can utilize to build the brands quite effectively. And then I'd probably say creating good quality content, as I've mentioned so many times.
Yeah.
A lot of what defines good quality content, I think, firstly, is consistency in something that you know you can talk about, where you have the authority and the expertise in, and then back it up with at least some pretty pictures and shorter, digestible stuff that generally goes down very, very well, and then obviously video. But one of the crazy things about social media, which we've seen, which really falls into the ugly category, is when people do it really, really wrong. And the one that has never left my mind, apart from the incident we saw with Penny Sparrow, but was Justine Sacco, who before she got on the plane said, "I'm going to Africa. I hope I don't get AIDS." And she was working for some type of humanitarian organization. The details are a little bit.
I remember this.
By the time she landed in South Africa, there was a mob waiting for her at the airport. Public release already from the firm saying she's no longer in our employment. So she lost her job. She lost her credibility in the space because she was also involved as the social media brand manager. And then not only that, she put her personal brand in complete disarray. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to recover from something like that. And we've seen it time and time again where people just do really silly things.
Stupid thing. And you know what else? The problem with social media, and I guess this would be file under ugly, is that it will never go anywhere. I remember when, you see in terms of like when politicians come to power, it happened to Donald Trump, deservedly, where somebody will dig out something from 5 years ago that he said that vastly contradicts something he's saying now. I mean, I always look back and think, oh my goodness, what did I say in 2013? Hopefully nothing hugely offensive. But I do always worry about that. Joining us in studio this morning is Joshua Roode, who is with us for the first hour of the show, and agreed under duress because I put him on the spot live on air, just to stay with us, just to wrap up our conversation that we were having before the news. And we're talking about social media, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we've been speaking about different companies' responses online, how what you say online can have a positive effect, of course, how you can turn something around that perhaps if there's been something negative out there, your response, the importance of delivering a good response, and also how excuse me, how things can also go horribly, horribly wrong. And Joshua reminding us of that case of the woman, what was her name?
It's Justine Sacco.
Justine Sacco, yeah. Who made a comment, was on her way to South Africa. This was a few years ago now, and made a comment online about, I hope I don't get AIDS by coming to Africa. You foolish woman. By the time she'd landed, she'd been sacked. Yeah. There was a mob waiting for her. And her own personal brand was... Oh,
so how do you recover in the digital space from that? I mean, she was part of the marketing team in the digital space as well. Yeah. So it's very difficult to recover from that.
Very difficult to recover. We've also, if you are joining us, we've also been doing another Facebook Live. We did one last week and you guys seem to really enjoy it, so we've done it again this week. We're going to be wrapping up in just a minute, but thanks to everyone who's been watching online on Facebook Live. You can go to my Facebook page, Sara-Jayne King, and even once we're not live, you can still watch us, retrospectively watch us. And also, before Joshua goes, I do just want to get him to remind us of all his social media bits and pieces and taglines and blah, blah, blah. Go.
Okay, so you can find me on all those fancy platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And the handle is at Joshua Roode, which is ROODE. And then my website, joshuaroode.co.za.
And Cape Town is?
Cape Town is awesome. Woohoo. Come on, it is.
Yeah, it really is.
We can't deny that. It was like,
and how's this weather that we're having at the moment?
Stunning.
Hey? Yeah.
Absolutely stunning.
I'm so on board. I'm
very good for social media.
It's very good for social media. Okay, so Joshua, we hope we can bribe him to come back into studio and see us again soon. If you go to Joshua's YouTube channel later today, then the video from last week will be up there. What I've managed to do, and sadly we've run out of time, is avoid talking about how I got on putting together a little video from my trip last week. It's in process.
Okay.
It's still happening.
So when can we set a date to see this production?
Next
Let's
week.
make you commit on air.
You're hideous. Can we do it next week?
Yeah, it sounds like a plan.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's, you know, it's a mishmash of things, but it's not, I haven't done it before, so yeah.
It's going to be good.
Well, I don't know if good is the word, but it's going to happen. Joshua, thank you. It's always lovely to have you in studio with us.